Welcome back to Dukascopy TV. I'm Elaine Stenson. I'm joined in the studio now by Christian Champod, who's CEO of Trustvalor, an investment company based here in Geneva. He's here with me now to discuss changes in the Forex industry today and how it all began. Christian, you're very welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
So 42 years the Forex industry has been going now. Can you tell us how it all began?
Well, it began actually in 1972 in Chicago. The then head of the International Monetary Market, Melamed, started the currency trading in a futures market. And there were actually 8 currencies traded: the Japanese yen, Mexican pesos and Canadian dollar, and the British pound, Dutch guilder, French franc, Dutch mark, and the Swiss francs. Incidentally, the Swiss francs was 4.30 to $1. In other words, for $1 you got 4 Swiss francs 30. Now you're getting 90 cents.
And what have been the main changes that you've seen since the start?
Well, the main change is, it was traded in the pit in Chicago. Yeah. So people were screaming around and purchasing, buying, selling. By the way, when you had your hand raised away from you, it meant you sell. When you had your hand close to you, it meant you buy. So in 1987, for the first time in the world, there was the introduction of electronic place, the Globex, that was also created in Chicago. So the actually modern form of currency trading took place in 1987, and a major change is that before that it was a kind of a pencil and paper trading. You had your graphs, etc., and now it's done by computers. And the power of computers today is million times more than it was 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Okay, and when we're going back 30 years ago, maybe to the early 80s, can you tell me about the introduction of the first derivative product to be introduced to Switzerland?
Well, I believe I was one of the first, if not the first, to introduce one type of derivative product, which was management of futures where the principal was guaranteed by the US Treasury. And this was done the following way. I was buying at 50% discount 0 coupon US Treasury bonds, and then with the balance I was investing that in the futures markets. You have to understand that the prime rate, the US prime rate in the 80s was around 14-15%. Actually in 1980 the prime rate was at an all-time high 21.5%. So a 0 coupon was dealing at a very strong and substantial discount.
Okay, and can we talk about the key milestones in the Forex industry? Because we know that in 2008 with the economic crisis, it actually helped strengthen the Forex industry. So what kind of an impact did it actually have?
Well, a very strong impact. I guess there are 2 impacts. The crisis, where people wanted to diversify away from stock market, etc. And also 10 years ago, roughly, the introduction of electronic platform, trading platform like Dukascopy has one, which enables people to directly deal with a click of a mouse instead of the more complicated way through a broker.
Yes, and so we know there's been a lot of changes obviously through the internet, but what changes do you see ahead for the Forex industry? I
think the biggest change will be the general use of trading algorithms like HFT, high frequency trade, which is very prevalent right now in the New York Stock Exchange. 70% of the volume is done through HFTs, and I believe that's going to be very much the case in the currency market, which to a certain extent is going to crowd out the small investors because he just doesn't have the mean for those type of computers. Okay,
and we're hearing that the US dollar is the currency for 2014 due to the strong economic growth over in the US. What's your take on this?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the US economy is going to grow in 14 around 2.5 to 2.7%, much faster than the Eurozone. The balance of payment is going to improve. The deficit is going to improve. And actually, few people know that the US will become the largest oil and gas exporter in the world, ahead of Russia in 14. So all these facts together means that the dollar is going to be very strong, and consequently the euro is going to be relatively weak.
Okay. Christian, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today.
You're welcome.
And that's all we have time for now, but do check back later for further updates and interviews from the Dukascopy TV team. Bye for now.